Everyone arrived at the butcher's shop. A tall man stood at the entrance, wildly hacking away at a human leg with a bone-cutting knife. He had a pair of antelope horns and terrifying red eyes. His muscles were like rock. Every swing of the knife sliced clean through bone. The sound alone made the onlookers' scalps tingle. "Hello, Butcher. These are the players here to participate in the Butcher game." Zhao stepped forward and looked the Butcher straight in the eyes. The Butcher glanced at the group. His mouth stretched open to the base of his ears, revealing densely packed sharp teeth. Bits of flesh and hair were still stuck inside. No one knew what kind of creature he was. "There are 3 types of games I offer. The first is delivery. I've got some orders that need to go out. Whoever's the fastest wins. The winner gets a bowl of my exclusive broth. The loser, heta." His laughter almost made their heads explode. "The second game is to go to the kitchen and cook me a dish. If I'm satisfied, you pass. If I'm not, I'll personally teach you how to cook. The third game is to head into the Valley of 100 Burials deep in the mountains to gather ingredients for me. So, what'll it be? Which game do you want to play?" The group exchanged nervous glances. The smell of blood in the air and the corpses hanging on iron hooks reminded them that this butcher was extremely dangerous. Zhang Weishan had once seen the butcher skin a player alive. The brutality left a scar on his psyche. Since they formed a team, they needed to agree on one choice to begin the game. "How about we pick the second one?" Fang Bai hesitated, then spoke up. "We can help each other and no one has to die." Zhang Weishan scoffed. "The second game? There's no clear standard for taste. We don't even know what this thing likes. If it wants us dead, we lose no matter what." Fang Bai frowned. "Then what do you suggest?" Zhang Weishan replied confidently. "The first task, obviously. Delivering food is just a race. If you're slow, that's your own fault. Can't blame anyone else." To Zhang Weishan, this was the most favorable option. He had good physical fitness. He fought in underground rings, had close combat experience, and could have his underlings ambush others once the task began. They didn't need to kill, just injure or block the others. Then he could win while the butcher dealt with the rest. After all, the butcher only cared about who finished first, not how long it took. Fang Bai looked at Zhao Yi anxiously, hoping he would make up his mind. Among their group, Zhao Yi was undoubtedly the one with the most authority. Zhao Yi glanced at Zhang Weishan, who looked determined to win, and said, "I think what Brother Zhang said makes sense. Let's play the first game. It's also good to deliver food. In such a cruel world, competition is inevitable." As soon as he finished speaking, Fang Bai and the others were stunned and looked at Zhao Yi with incomprehensible expressions. Was there no special way to survive in this butcher game? How could even someone as calculating as Zhao Yi decide to resign himself to fate? Only Zhang Weishan was secretly delighted. Everything was going exactly as he had expected. Great. Next, as soon as the butcher confirmed the game had started, he would immediately betray them. Zhao Yi and the others wouldn't be going anywhere. They would die in this dark butcher shop, hung upside down on iron hooks like slabs of meat. Okay. The butcher turned and walked into the shop, took out 6 prepared dishes from a steamer inside, and placed them in front of everyone. There were packaging materials next to the dishes, as well as the specific delivery locations. "You go and come back quickly. I only recognize the first person to complete the mission." The butcher's dull voice rumbled from his chest. Several people packed their meals quickly, but Zhao Yi didn't move. With only one finger, he couldn't pack his takeout. The others noticed but didn't help. It was a race against time. Fang Bai, quicker with his hands, finished packing and hesitated for a moment. Then he hurriedly helped Zhao Yi pack his share. Bai Shuiji and Liu Han didn't say anything on the surface, but they were secretly laughing. Fang Bai clearly hadn't adapted to the rules of survival here. Helping Zhao Yi now was only hurting himself. By then, Zhang Weishan had already rushed out with the food. Liu Han and Bai Shuiji followed closely behind. Fang Bai looked at them running off, feeling a little anxious, and said to Zhao Yi, "Damn it, Zhao Yi, you're asking for it. I can only help you this much." He grabbed his delivery and dashed out. Zhao Yi stared at the packed takeout in front of him, then looked at Tian Tian, who wasn't moving at all, just holding her bear toy. He asked curiously, "Tian Tian, aren't you going to do the task?" Tian Tian shook her head, her little ponytail swaying. No, Tian Tian doesn't want to do the task. There was a pitiful look in her eyes. "If you don't do the task, you'll die." Zhao Yi made a face to scare her, but Tian Tian remained unmoved. She pouted, "You're lying to me. Who said I'll be fine?" Zhao Yi touched his chin, his eyes lighting up with interest. "Oh, who is Pooh?" The girl raised the bear in her arms. "Pooh is the first friend I made in this world." Zhao Yi gently touched the bear, a strange light flashing in his eyes. Pooh, triggered neutral. Note, when you try to hurt the girl, it will be alert. When you wound the girl, it will go berserk. Weakness, not clear yet. What a cute little bear. I have never seen one like this, Zhao Yi said cheerfully. Thank you, brother Zhao. Pooh is a little shy when you praise it so much. Zhao Yi smiled, walked into the butcher shop, sat down, and said to the butcher, is there any beef? The butcher turned around, his devil-like eyes icy cold. Get out, you're not my guest. Zhao Yi didn't mind. The clown told me you have a daughter. The butcher stopped chopping meat. He turned and walked toward Zhao Yi, casting a chilling shadow over him. Zhao Yi remained calm, crossing his legs and staring at his only remaining middle finger in the red-lit room as if it were a piece of art. How long have you been looking for her? The butcher growled. What does it have to do with you? Zhao Yi smiled. I have a deal about your daughter. You clearly can't leave the butcher shop for long. A lunatic like you who doesn't follow rules still has rules you must obey, right? The butcher was silent. He gripped the boning knife tighter. I can help you search for your daughter in distant places, like Gukshuan town. I can go where you can't. Maybe I can find clues. The butcher said. Do you think I'll just let you go? Zhao Yi said lazily. Of course you will. I completed the clown game. I've proven my ability. Killing one more person or one less person. What difference does it make to a butcher who's washed his hands in blood? The butcher's hand trembled slightly, a sign of straining too hard. That brief pause seemed to recall something from the past. After a few breaths, he relaxed his grip, turned, and went into the kitchen. Soon, he returned with a bowl of specially cut, hot braised beef. Find my daughter and bring her back to me, and you'll get a considerable reward. Then he returned to the bloody counter and began chopping bones again. Congratulations on accepting the hidden task of the big world. Find the butcher's daughter. Seeing the task, Zhao Yi knew he had secured another guiding mission in this big world. The clown had said earlier that the butcher was different. The butcher didn't follow rules. Even if players completed the game, he could still kill them if he was in a bad mood. So Zhao Yi had asked the clown about the butcher's weakness, though in a roundabout way. That's when he learned it was the butcher's daughter. Rather than gamble with a meaningless game, Zhao Yi chose to make a deal. Now, he just had to wait for the others to return. Across from him, Tian Tian picked up a piece of beef and fed it to Zhao Yi. Her big eyes curved like tiny moons. Eat here, brother Zhao. Winnie said your hands aren't convenient, so I'll help you eat. Zhao Yi liked her little bear. She liked her little bear too. And now, she also liked Zhao Yi. At the entrance of the station, Fang Bai and the others were blocked by a group of people. They looked menacing, with cruel and malicious smiles on their faces. Armed with weapons, they trapped the three of them in the safe area of the grocery store. Seeing this, Liu Han's usually honest face showed anger. Zhang Weishan, how dare you plot against us? Zhang Weishan held the takeaway in his hand, stood behind the crowd, and sneered at the three of them. The only one to blame is Zhao Yi. After all, this butcher mission was approved by him. Liu Han clenched his fists and wanted to rush forward but was held back by Fang Bai. If you rush over now, your legs will be broken. Fang Bai was furious too, but he still kept his rationality. There were too many people on the other side. They had no way of posing a threat to Zhang Weishan. Stop them. Don't let them leave the station. Zhang Weishan gave orders to his underlings and then walked out of the station casually. Are you stupid? Help Zhang Weishan. Can't you see what kind of person he is? Today he can backstab us, tomorrow it will be you. She tried to provoke them with her words, scanning the crowd's faces. Bai Shuiji could tell they didn't really want to follow Zhang Weishan. They helped him out of fear. He was ruthless and had guild backing. No one dared to betray him. They had seen him kill many players before, so they were terrified. Even though they knew Bai Shuiji was right, no one moved. She became anxious and suddenly rushed toward the gap in the crowd, trying to break through. But within seconds, she was grabbed by the hair and beaten. Some perverts even tore at her clothes and took advantage of her. At first, Bai Shuiji screamed, but soon, she couldn't even do that. She collapsed from the beating. The food she carried spilled on the floor. She curled up, protecting her head, letting out a weak whimper. Her clothes were in tatters, bruises and blood covered her body, and blood ran from her mouth and nose. Stop it. Don't beat her to death. Do you want to enter the killing battlefield just to raise your kill value? Seeing Bai Shuiji on the brink of death, the kind-hearted Fang Bai shouted, snapping the group out of their frenzy. They quickly backed away. Looking at the miserable, bloodied woman on the ground, cold sweat broke out on their backs. They had been so focused on venting their fear and anger that they nearly killed her. Fang Bai stepped forward and gently dragged her back to safety while everyone watched. Thank you, she whispered weakly. Seeing her like that, Liu Han sat down and muttered in a daze. It's over. We're all going to die. Zhang Weishan was right. It's all Zhao Yi's fault. If he insisted on the second game or the third, maybe none of us would have died. Fang Bai frowned. What garbage are you talking about? Liu Han turned his head. His eyes were bloodshot. Am I wrong? If he hadn't told us to leave it to fate, would we be here now? If he hadn't agreed to Zhang Weishan joining our team, would we have been betrayed? Fang Bai replied coldly. There's something seriously wrong with you. You bully the weak and fear the strong. Zhang Weishan hurt you, but you take your anger out on your own people. Did you forget who earned you rewards in the last dungeon? Liu Han's rage flared. He grabbed Fang Bai's collar and shouted, "Say it again." Fang Bai, seeing the fury in Liu Han's eyes, fell silent. I'm going to kill Zhao Yi. If I kill him, Zhang Weishan will definitely let me leave. He will. Then I'll use food delivery as an excuse to return to the guild. No matter how strong the butcher is, he can't kill me in the apartment. Yes, I'll kill Zhao Yi now. Liu Han, consumed by fear, muttered as he stumbled toward the second floor. The others ignored him. Some even followed to watch. Zhao Yi, come out. Liu Han pulled out his sole weapon, a crowbar made of bone. He looked deranged, eyes locked on Zhao Yi, who was eating calmly in the butcher shop. He wanted to kill him but didn't dare enter. The butcher's terrifying presence made his legs weak. Zhao Yi looked up and smiled. Want to eat beef together? Liu Han looked completely different from his usual self. His face twisted, spirit broken. He pointed the crowbar. Come out. Zhao Yi, seeing this, responded after calmly chewing his food. The butcher and I talked. We can take a few people away. Just one sentence, and Liu Han froze. He stared blankly, then showed a hint of surprise. You're telling the truth. Of course. Why else would I be sitting here eating so calmly? Oh, by the way, why did you want me to come out? Liu Han hid the crowbar awkwardly. I wanted to ask if you've thought of a way to complete the mission. Zhao Yi smiled. Is that so? I thought you wanted to kill me for credit. Liu Han's face twitched but quickly turned into a smile. Of course not. You're my benefactor. I'd never do that. I'm counting on you to get me out of here. He awkwardly put the crowbar away. Fang Bai showed up at the stairs with Bai Shuiji. Seeing Zhao Yi unharmed, he breathed a sigh of relief. Passing Liu Han, Fang Bai looked at him with disgust. Then he brought Bai Shuiji past the butcher and sat across from Zhao Yi. Zhao Yi, did you figure out how to finish the butcher game early? Zhao Yi shook his head. No. Fang Bai's heart sank. So Zhao Yi was just waiting to die. Looking at the beef, he felt bitter. This might be his last meal. Jesus still had a few dishes at the table, but he only had braised beef. He grabbed some and stuffed it in his mouth, chewing hard. Damn it. If I die, I'm dying full. After about half an hour, a hoarse laugh echoed from the first floor. I won. I won. You all have to die. Everyone dies. Fang Bai and Liu Han turned pale. It was Zhang Weishan. He had returned. His figure stumbled up the stairs, missing one arm, covered in blood. Clearly, delivering food wasn't easy. He walked to the butcher shop, face ferocious, grinning at those inside. What's the big deal about being first on the newcomer list? You think you can beat me? You're not worthy. I used a little trick and a fool like you fell for it. You think you're good enough to be my brother? Zhao Yi nodded. Indeed. Zhang Weishan scowled. For some reason, Zhao Yi's calm face made him furious. You're about to die. Why act so calm? We'll see how long you can pretend. Butcher, I completed your task and was the first to deliver food. Now give me my reward. The butcher stopped chopping bones and slowly walked toward him with a blood-stained knife. From the staircase, Zhang Weishan's lackeys watched eagerly. They didn't like him, but if he got stronger, they would too. Zhang Weishan lifted his head, grinning wickedly. He was sure the NPC wouldn't hurt him now. He felt like a king returning. Come on, tell the world. I, Zhang Weishan, will be the handsomest man among the newcomers. And that woman Liu Ruoking. She'll want me now, right? In his mind, scenes of glory flashed one after another. He smiled wider. Then pain ripped through him. He slowly looked down. A massive iron hook pierced his abdomen. Blood soaked his clothes. Fear overtook him. No. His lips trembled. His mind raced. He completed the task. He followed the butcher's instructions. Why was he being killed? It's Zhao Yi. It's them. They should die, not me. Why? Why? All his questions led to one person. Zhao Yi. Zhang Weishan turned his head. Zhao Yi, still eating beef, smiled at him. Polite, elegant, but Zhang Weishan felt only despair. He had been played. Zhang Weishan reached out, eyes wide, and whispered, "Save me." Zhao Yi walked up, flicked his bangs aside, and said lazily, "You said you had nothing to do. So why did you mess with me? Regret it now?" Zhang Weishan was no longer fierce. The fear of death made him pathetic. He whimpered, I couldn't see the truth. Please, let me live." Zhao Yi didn't answer. He raised his hand and flipped him off, smiling brightly. In the next moment, in Zhang Weishan's horrified eyes, the butcher's knife came down, and the world went dark. Zhang Weishan was instantly hoisted upside down from the ceiling of the butcher shop by a hook. The corpse swayed in the still air. In the distance, Zhang Weishan's comrades stood frozen in place, their faces pale. What happened? Didn't Zhang Weishan complete the game? Why did he die? They were too far away to see what really happened. They only saw Zhang Weishan shout, then the butcher attacked him, then he died. The three people inside the butcher shop looked just as horrified. The butcher had started killing people. Who would be next? Would it be Zhao Yi, who stood closest to him? They held their breath. Their minds had gone completely blank from fear. But soon, they realized the butcher didn't seem intent on killing anyone else. Instead, he returned to the kitchen and brought out a bowl of soup, handing it to Zhao Yi. You completed my task. This is your reward. Zhao Yi accepted the bowl, and system information about the soup flashed in his eyes. Item: soup carefully cooked by the butcher. Type: consumable. Description: though a butcher, his cooking skills are impeccable. Yet, for some reason, every dish he prepares contains traces of resentment and rage. Effect: overdraws a portion of your life force to grant immense power, causing a berserk state with no regard for allies. Lasts 5 minutes. For the next 12 hours after the berserk state ends, you will lose all combat ability. Note: do you want to be a coward for life or a hero for a moment? Thank you, Zhao Yi said. Despite its dangerous side effects, the benefits were considerable, useful in certain situations. He accepted the butcher's medicine, and the system broadcasted an announcement about Zhao Yi. System notification. Congratulations to player Zhao Yi for unlocking a new guild scene, the butcher shop. This scene is currently neutral. Players may purchase meat products here but will not be protected in the vicinity. Do not anger the butcher, the shop's owner. The global quest has been completed. Based on contribution, Zhao Yi receives 3 talent points. Fang Bai, Bai Shuiji, and Liu Han each receive 1. The global quest has been updated. Resolve the resentment in the train. Please check the system for details. Guild chat room. The butcher shop is unlocked now. Damn, a task unsolved for 3 years finally got completed. My youth is over. This new guy is something else. Last dungeon, Kinglane was saying he wanted to recruit Zhao Yi. Unfortunately, now that Zhao Yi's name is on this global quest, no one stronger than him can attempt it, unless he dies. That's a dangerous idea. If we don't kill him, we'll have to wait for him to unlock the next major map. Only then will side quests become available to others. Honestly, if anyone tries to kill someone as valuable as Zhao Yi, the higher-ups probably won't just sit back. He's too important to the guild. After the system notification, Zhao Yi didn't immediately return to the guild to heal. Instead, he asked the butcher about his daughter. Also, I want to take a few people with me. The butcher replied coldly, take them all. The guidance mission was complete. The butcher was now neutral and no longer hostile to players, especially since Zhao Yi offered to help him find his daughter. The players in the shop brightened with joy. They trembled with excitement. The butcher had just guaranteed their survival. Not only did they live, but they also gained 2 free talent points. Huge profit. Zhao Yi glanced at them and smiled. No, actually, I don't plan to take all of them, he said. There are some things I can't do, but you can do them for me. After all, you've done it before. Everyone froze. Then realization dawned on them. Zhao Yi was planning to kill with a borrowed knife. The butcher asked directly, who do you want to kill? Zhao Yi's gaze landed on Liu Han, whose face turned pale. No, Zhao Yi, you have no reason to kill me. Liu Han stammered. I haven't done anything against you. I'm just like the others. Drenched in sweat, Liu Han desperately explained himself. Zhao Yi gently touched his hair with his remaining middle finger and smiled. I don't mind sharing meat with others, but there are 2 things I can't stand. The first, someone eating meat from my bowl. The second, someone who relies on me to eat meat, trying to eat mine. I'm not interested in killing, but that doesn't mean I won't do it. You should have understood that a long time ago. But it doesn't matter now. Be careful in your next life. Blood splattered. The hell-like scene almost made Fang Bai and Bai Shuiji vomit. Although some guild members in the distance couldn't see clearly through the dark curtain, the general outline was visible. The sight made the coldness in their feet rush straight to the top of their heads. Under the dim red light, Zhao Yi turned around and smiled at them. His half-hidden face in the shadows looked as terrifying as a ghost. They shuddered and stumbled downstairs to escape. The guidance mission is completed. Do you want to go back? Looking at Fang Bai and Bai Shuiji, who were already scared stiff, Zhao Yi said seriously. Don't worry, I'm not the kind of cruel person you think. Killing is still difficult for a kind and soft-hearted person like me. Fang Bai glanced at Zhao Yi cautiously. Kind, soft-hearted, killing is difficult for you. Was he joking? If he hadn't seen Zhao Yi casually kill 2 people while chatting and laughing, he might have been fooled by Zhao Yi's harmless, handsome face. Anyway, you gave me those 2 attribute points. I have to thank you. As long as you don't want my life, everything else is fine. Zhao Yi returned to the guild residence, entered his room, turned on his computer, and began searching for the name Sun Beibai. The Hell Game forum recorded many things about the chaotic world, so maybe he could find some clues in a few posts. However, after checking almost all posts related to Sun Beibai, Zhao Yi came up with nothing. Those with the same name were either NPCs from other areas or just players. Zhao Yi rubbed his forehead and fell into deep thought. Thinking is often the fastest way to solve doubts and calm the mind. Tasks given by NPCs were usually designed with a backstory. This meant the butcher's daughter couldn't have just died unnoticed in some random ditch. Even if she had died in such a way, she would have likely turned into a ghost to cause trouble. Zhao Yi thought for a moment and took out the recorder the butcher had given him. He clicked play. A noisy conversation began. Beibai, has the train arrived at Guxuan town? Dad, it's so cold here. Cold? Beibai, are you in Guxuan town now? I don't know. I can't see. Beibai, what happened? Don't cry. Tell Dad. Dad will help you. I don't want to go to Guxuan town. What's going on, Beibai? Explain it to Dad. Dad, Beibai is so cold. Can you come pick me up? Okay, Beibai. Where are you? I'll come now. Hello. Beibai, where are you? Beibai, speak up. Don't scare Dad. Beibai. The voices were urgent and filled with fear. Even from the recording alone, several useful pieces of information could be gathered. Sun Beibai boarded a train to Guxuan town. The butcher was not with her. Something went wrong on the train. Zhao Yi opened the system map. Most of the areas between their guild and Guxuan town were still blacked out and undeveloped. Those areas could only be unlocked after triggering the right quests, so he couldn't go there yet. It seemed the butcher's quest would have to be put on hold for now. Thinking of this, Zhao Yi opened the system and checked the latest world quest. There were still a few days left before next month's dungeon update. He decided to see if he could get involved in the new quest. World quest, liberate the resentment in the train. Recommended level 3, 6. Recommended team size 6. Reward 2 free talent points. Introduction, you arrive at an abandoned train station. After searching, you find a 6-car train with a locomotive. Excited, you board the train to check if it can be started. But you quickly discover some strange figures lurking inside. This task was labeled for levels 3 to 6, and Zhao Yi happened to be at level 3. The mission was in copy mode, which meant that once a player decided to participate, it had to be completed. Either complete the mission or die. This was unlike the previous butcher game, where players could run back to the guild station and hide while helping the butcher deliver food. But this mission was different. Any task in copy mode would transport the player into an independent time and space. There was no escape. Liu Ruoking had already reminded Zhao Yi that missions in the chaotic world's big world were far more dangerous than ordinary dungeons. Since players in the big world only had one life, unless they had special items like a scapegoat doll, death meant real, permanent death. Zhao Yi wasn't in a hurry. He turned off the computer, leaned back in the chair, and gently rubbed his palms. Where his fingers had been cut off, they now itched. He tore off the gauze with his mouth and saw that the severed fingers were regenerating at a speed visible to the naked eye. First bones, then nerves, capillaries, and finally muscles. After 3 to 5 minutes, his hand looked perfectly normal. It was amazing, but in this bizarre world, not so unbelievable. Bang! There was a loud knock on the door, more like a kick. Zhao Yi opened the door and found a group of thuggish-looking men standing outside. They looked menacing and stared at him with cold, mocking eyes. "Who are you looking for?" Zhao Yi asked, already knowing the answer. "You." The tattooed man at the front was smoking and looked smug. His nostrils flared proudly. If the situation weren't so tense, Zhao Yi would have asked what shampoo he used to make his nose hairs so shiny and strong. Although I know I'll sound childish saying this, if your thick, flowing nose hairs aren't styled properly, they're just embarrassing your already oversized nostrils. The man's face turned red with rage. He clenched his fists and tried to barge into the room, but couldn't. Not even the guild president could enter Zhao Yi's room without permission. "You've gotten into big trouble and you're still running your mouth. I think you're tired of living." He pounded on the invisible wall at the door, his eyes burning with fury. Zhao Yi calmly picked up a large durian from the coffee table and set it in front of the door. "Sister Liu gave me this. I wanted to eat it but didn't have the tools. You guys don't seem busy, mind helping me open it?" The people outside stared at him like he was insane. They were clearly there to start trouble, and he wanted them to open fruit. "You don't seem to understand the situation. But I'll kindly explain." "No," Zhao Yi interrupted, stepped back, and removed the room's protective barrier. The tattooed man, caught off guard, stumbled forward and fell face first onto the durian. Snap! The durian cracked open. A bit of blood trickled down. Zhao Yi squatted beside him, looked at the fruit, patted the man's head, and praised. Your forehead is amazing. Ever trained in Iron Head Kung Fu? The man trembled with humiliation and fury. He leapt up like a crazed beast and charged at Zhao Yi, only to be hurled out of the room by a terrifying force, like trash being thrown out. Zhao Yi had turned the protection back on. Thanks for opening the durian. He took a bite and smiled at the furious man. The tattooed man slammed against the air barrier and snarled. If you've got guts, stay in there forever. Bang! Before he finished, Zhao Yi shut the door, leaving him to stare at the number 404. His smile froze. He looked like he was about to explode. This newcomer, how dare he? How dare he treat me like this? That evening, as Zhao Yi went out for his usual walk after dinner, he was caught and taken to room 511 of the guild residence. A middle-aged man sat inside, calmly brewing tea. He exuded quiet authority. Weishan was in the butcher game with you. Zhao Yi nodded. How did he die? I killed him. Why? Zhao Yi paused. After a moment, he smiled coldly. If you ask who killed Zhang Weishan, I'll tell you honestly, I did. But if you ask why I killed him, I honestly don't know. Maybe because it was fun. Everyone in the room involuntarily took a step back. Though they were all over level 10 and Zhao Yi was just a newcomer, his presence made their skin crawl. They couldn't explain why, but in that moment, Zhao Yi truly terrified them. Unlike the other younger gang members, the middle-aged man drinking tea remained calm. He looked seriously at Zhao Yi and asked, Do you know who I am? Zhao Yi replied, I don't. Let me guess. Are you Zhang Weishan's brother? The man nodded. Yes, since you've heard of me, you should know what kind of person I am. I'm Xiang Babeng. Before he could finish, Zhao Yi interrupted him. No, actually, I haven't heard of you, and I seriously doubt you're your father's biological child. If it weren't for old Wang's interference, your father really shouldn't have given you that name. Zhao Yi spoke seriously. He wasn't trying to insult him for fun. If it wasn't for the nosy old Wang next door, how could a father name his son something so absurd? The gang members in the room turned pale. Some looked at Xiang Babeng with subtle sympathy. They had followed Xiang Babeng long enough to know how cruel he could be. As the leader of the Mengchong gang, the one thing he hated most was people mocking his name. Zhao Yi was practically asking to die. Do you think you're funny? Xiang Babeng's eyes narrowed, his tone dripping with murderous intent. It's okay. I'm usually pretty funny, Zhao Yi said, crossing his legs on the sofa and opening a bottle of water. To describe me with just one word, handsome, feels a little shallow. Xiang Babeng had clawed his way up in this cruel world, eventually becoming a local tyrant in the Hunzi Guild. Normally, everyone kissed up to him. But here was Zhao Yi, bold, arrogant, and crazy. A tattooed man behind Zhao Yi pulled out a gun and pointed it at the back of his head, eyes full of hostility. He was waiting for Xiang Babeng's order to blow Zhao Yi's brains out. Although players couldn't truly die in the guild's base, that only gave them more ways to torture someone until they lost their mind. You killed the boss's brother. You should pay for that. The tattooed man snarled. Zhao Yi's earlier humiliation still burned in his memory. As a veteran player, he had been humiliated by a newbie. If he didn't get revenge, how could he face his younger gang members? I get it. He can kill me, but I can't kill him, Zhao Yi said, unflinching even with a gun to his head. Because he has a good brother, and I don't. Xiang Babeng's eyes narrowed. Since you know that, you shouldn't have killed my brother. Zhao Yi took a sip of water and set the bottle down on the table. Then he raised his hand like a gun and pointed it at Xiang Babeng. Do you know what I'm thinking right now? I don't need to know the thoughts of a madman, Xiang Babeng said coldly. But soon, you'll know what I'm thinking. Zhao Yi interrupted again, his expression suddenly twisting with ferocity. I'm thinking, if I had a shotgun in my hand right now, I'd blow your head off. Xiang Babeng actually laughed. He felt he had regained control. He brushed off his clothes, lit a cigarette, and sneered, look at you. Pathetic, like a crawling insect. You can't even afford a gun. Bang. Before he finished, Zhao Yi pulled out a shotgun and blew his head apart. Blood and gore sprayed across the room. Smoke curled from the black muzzle of Zhao Yi's gun. Everyone in the room froze. Players could revive inside the guild's base, even if reduced to ashes. But that wasn't the point. The point was Zhao Yi, a level 3 newbie, had walked into a room full of high-level players and shot a level 22 leader in the head. Do you think he should have dodged? Zhao Yi smiled, lowering the gun as all eyes burned with shock and confusion. He had done what he wanted to do. Zhao Yi knew he wasn't walking out of this room alive. But before they killed him, he decided to act first. He knew that if Xiang Babeng were on guard, he'd never get the chance. So he used words and theatrics to distract him, made him believe Zhao Yi had no weapon, and then shot him. Maybe Xiang Babeng was strong, but clearly he hadn't yet acquired a powerful bloodline or enhanced ghost limbs. He wasn't tough enough to take a blast from the shotgun Yang Linlin had given Zhao Yi, and so he was dead. The tattooed man came to his senses and fired. Zhao Yi's head exploded in return. Zhao Yi was no stranger to death. As soon as he lost consciousness, he found himself back in a familiar dark cage. Over 1,000 grotesque monsters were chained to bronze pillars, roaring wildly. Zhao Yi often visited this place. He wasn't afraid of the monsters. In fact, they were afraid of him. He was the one who captured them, brought them here. They came from Zhao Yi's patients. In their eyes, Zhao Yi had no form. He was the unknown, the unknowable, the hidden truth. He was the master of this world. Anger, jealousy, paranoia, violence, bloodlust. Zhao Yi could name every monster imprisoned here. As he walked by, they fell silent and feigned death. Suddenly, a hole opened in the gray sky, and bright light shone through. Zhao Yi looked up. Resurrected already, he sighed. When he opened his eyes again, Zhao Yi was strapped to an electric chair. The bright lights made him squint. A group of vicious-looking people surrounded him, grinning cruelly. Xiang Babing stood among them, his blood cleaned off and dressed in a fresh suit. His face was dark with rage. Zhao Yi's earlier shotgun blast had done no lasting harm, but it had wounded his pride. To be publicly humiliated by a level 3 rookie. How could he face anyone? You know what this is? Xiang Babing asked, raising the controller. The electric chair, Zhao Yi replied calmly. For most people, it's unbearable. But for me, not that bad. That creepy smile returned to his face. Xiang Babing, enraged, slammed the button. Electricity surged through Zhao Yi. His body convulsed. Sparks flew from his skin. The scent of burning flesh filled the air. Zhao Yi slumped, motionless. After about a minute, his body healed. He slowly raised his head. How was it? Xiang Babing sneered. Not bad, Zhao Yi said. Strong electric shocks hurt in the short term, but once you get used to them, they're kind of enjoyable. Want to go a few more rounds? Xiang Babing froze. So did everyone else. Enjoyable? Was this guy a masochist? What are you pretending for? Xiang Babing shouted. Scream if it hurts. Zhao Yi looked at the controller and said, mind giving me that? Xiang Babing laughed coldly. What, scared now? No, I just think the product experience was good. If you won't press it, I can do it myself. Everyone stared at Zhao Yi in disbelief. This man wasn't normal. Zhao Yi smiled to himself. Just the electric chair. That's boring. You can be more creative. Like boiling frogs, roasting quail eggs alive, or even skinning. Do you know the most incredible method? No one responded. Zhao Yi leaned forward, excited. A patient once told me, you start with a pot of mercury. Cut across into the scalp. Pour it in. The mercury will separate the skin from the muscles as it moves down. Eventually, you peel off a full human skin. And I won't even be dead yet. I can jump out and dance for you. The room went cold. Everyone instinctively backed away. Is this guy even human? Xiang Babing sat down, lit a cigarette, and frowned. This was the first time torture had left him completely stumped. They couldn't kill Zhao Yi in the guild's safe zone. They couldn't drag him out either. Torture and threats were the only options. But this guy, a masochist, a lunatic, a total freak. After a long silence, Xiang Babing stubbed out his cigarette. Just then, knock knock. A younger gang member opened the door. A stunning woman walked in. Fiery lips, seductive eyes. Zhao Yi, come with me, Liu Ruoking said lazily. Zhao Yi wriggled in the chair, shuffled to the door like a snail, and left, still tied up. No one dared stop him. They looked at Liu Ruoking with a mix of desire and fear. You came for someone in my place without telling me. Xiang Babing growled. He was already in a foul mood, and now she was ignoring him. Liu Ruoking gently waved a hand. The ropes around Zhao Yi fell away. She looked at Xiang Babing. Who are you? Those 3 words froze the air. Xiang Babing clenched his fists. The veins on his forehead bulged. He wanted to kill her, but he couldn't. He was no match for Liu Ruoking. This mature, seductive woman was one of the most powerful fighters in the entire Bone District. No matter how angry he was, he had to swallow it. I can't control what happens in the dungeon, but if you dare to make trouble with this person in the guild station. Liu Ruoking smirked and glanced at Xiang Babing. His expression turned pale with anger. His fists trembled, and cold sweat ran down his back. Without another word, Liu Ruoking turned and walked away with Zhao Yi. Xiang Babing stood still. After a long pause, he gave instructions to a tattooed man nearby, who responded with a cold, slightly ferocious look. Go. Keep it clean. Don't get me involved, Xiang Babing said coldly. The tattooed man nodded and left. Bang! A woman slammed the door and rolled her eyes at Zhao Yi, who was peeling a tangerine on the sofa. You're welcome, Zhao Yi replied. The view from the 7th floor is nice. Liu Ruoking sat on the sofa across from him, crossed her legs, and a hint of snow-white skin peeked through her silk nightgown. "What's so great about it? It's still the same as below," she said. Zhao Yi wiped his hands and looked at her. "You saved me. What do you want in return?" Liu Ruoqing rested her chin on her hand with a playful smile. "Can't I just want to protect you?" Zhao Yi chuckled. "You can, but I don't like owing favors. And I figure someone like you is even more ruthless than others. That's probably why they're all so afraid of you." Liu Ruoqing covered her mouth and laughed. "You're interesting. So, guess why I saved you?" Zhao Yi thought for a moment. "I don't know, but it's definitely not because I'm handsome." Liu Ruoqing rolled her eyes, poured herself a glass of wine, and took a sip. "You look like someone I knew." "Your ex?" Zhao Yi asked with a smile. Liu Ruoqing blinked. "Yes." Zhao Yi froze. "He and I had some unresolved issues," she continued. "So why not go find him? He's dead." "How did he die?" Liu Ruoqing tapped her wine glass, producing a crisp sound. "I killed him." Zhao Yi asked curiously why. Liu Ruoqing didn't answer. Her expression shifted slightly. "Why do you want to know so badly?" Zhao Yi rubbed his nose. "Sorry, professional habit." With a faint smile, Liu Ruoqing sank into the sofa and recalled. The Forgotten Angel treated thousands of dangerous mental illness patients in Fengguo. They all fully recovered. "You're so powerful, can you heal me too?" Zhao Yi crossed his hands on his lap. "To be honest, your condition isn't easy to cure. You haven't even asked what's wrong with me," Liu Ruoqing said, squinting. "In psychology, the hardest cases to treat are people like you, those who seem perfectly normal. I call it lucid disease. Much harder than paranoia." Liu Ruoqing looked at him pitifully. "Dr. Zhao, you can cure me, right?" "It'll take time," Zhao Yi said. "And not a short amount." Liu Ruoqing brushed her hair back with a seductive smile. "Time is the one thing I have. If you can cure me, I'll give you a very special reward." "I'll try," Zhao Yi muttered. No joke, she was the most complex patient he'd ever encountered. He was intrigued, but unsure if he could cure her. In addition, Zhang Babang won't dare touch you in the guild again. I warned him. He's arrogant, but not stupid. But the dungeon, you're on your own. Liu Ruoqing let Zhao Yi go without trying to stop him. When he turned the corner, he saw Tian Tian holding a worn-out teddy bear at the top of the stairs. "Tian Tian, why are you here?" Tian Tian tilted her head. "When he said you were in danger, so I came." Zhao Yi smiled and stroked the bear's fur. His hand passed right through it, but Tian Tian smiled joyfully. "I'm so glad you're okay, brother Zhao. It's late. Fang Bai made food. Come eat with us." Zhao Yi nodded, ruffled her hair, and went with her. Bai Shuiji was also there. "Many people died on the new mission," she said with an apologetic smile. She hadn't stayed behind in the butcher game to help Zhao Yi, and she felt guilty. But even so, she'd make the same decision again. The four of them sat around a hot pot. Fang Bai handed Zhao Yi a beer. "Zhang Babang didn't hurt you, right?" Zhao Yi shook his head. Fang Bai sighed. "I saw you get taken. I was so worried. I have no background or power, so I could only go to the high-level guild bosses. Only Sister Liu and an old player were left on the 7th floor. Luckily, she helped you. Otherwise, you'd be in real trouble." Zhao Yi smiled but said nothing. After a few bites, he asked, "How many died in the new mission?" 6 groups, 6 players in each. All dead. 36 in total, Fang Bai replied with hesitation. "I don't even dare take the mission. It's probably way beyond us." Zhao Yi bit into a spicy sausage, oil dripping. "You never know unless you try. If you won't go, I will." Fang Bai looked at him with growing unease. He wanted to be as fearless as Zhao Yi, but couldn't risk his life like that. 2 talent points, 1 life. A bad trade. The corpses were dumped at the station. Their deaths were gruesome, as if they died in extreme fear and pain, Bai Shuiji added. "There's no information about the mission either. No one knows what it's like." She also wanted the reward, but the risk made her hesitate. Zhao Yi looked at Tian Tian. "Are you going?" Tian Tian, munching away, simply nodded. She seemed to care about nothing, her own life included. After dinner, Zhao Yi and Fang Bai clinked bottles. Bai Shuiji made up her mind, she would go too. What happened in the butcher game made her realize how important power really was. "I wish you success," Fang Bai said as he saw them off. The 3 returned to the abandoned station. After greeting the clown, they walked to the platform. The platform was littered with broken corpses, the scene horrifying. A short, rusted train sat on the tracks. Near its door, a glowing circle shimmered, the dungeon entrance. Most players stayed away from it. "You can't back out now." 2 talent points. 4 players near the circle were trying to recruit someone. A minimum of 5 were needed to enter. They were 1 short. Zhao Yi and his companions joined them. The 4 were Wang Zhu, a greasy middle-aged man with a receding hairline. Lai Miao Miao, a quiet-looking girl. Wen Taki, a muscular young man. Qin Ziyufeng, a cane-wielding old woman. When they heard Zhao Yi would join, their expressions changed. Wang Zhu even chatted him up with fake enthusiasm. Lai Miao Miao looked disgusted by his antics. Let's go, Qin Ziyufeng said. Yes, Wang Zhu nodded. So many died, we must stick together. He put his hand out. One by one, they joined. Let's go, team. Wang Zhu cheered. They stepped into the light circle. Everything went white. Boom. Thunder cracked. Rain poured from the sky. Zhao Yi opened his eyes, seated in the sixth carriage of the train. Outside, it was dark and stormy. The ruined platform was deserted. No corpses, no people. The train car smelled of rust and dust. The lights flickered. He stood and walked the aisle. Then came a giggle from behind. Heta. Zhao Yi didn't turn. Instead, he continued searching. He picked up a pencil case, battered, with childish drawings. He also noticed it had been crushed by force. Heta. The voice came again, closer now. Still, Zhao Yi didn't look back. He spotted a tattered school bag and a small black suitcase in the corner. The school bag held textbooks, homework, and colorful scribbles. The homework was neat, signed by a caring parent. Zhao Yi's eyes moved to the black suitcase. Zhao Yi understood. He approached the suitcase. The voice behind him was now at his ear. Heta, open it, open it, open it, open it. The voice lingering in Zhao Yi's ears had a strange, magical power. It seemed capable of influencing the player's actions to a certain extent. Zhao Yi's fingers moved involuntarily toward the zipper of the suitcase. The gloomy voice kept repeating in his ear, urging him to open the black box. But Zhao Yi's hand paused on the zipper and didn't move. The voice grew increasingly impatient, but Zhao Yi stood firm, like a pig unafraid of boiling water. Eventually, he even stood up, ignored the voice completely, and walked toward carriage number 5. Behind him, a strange, twisted shadow in the shape of a young person stared at Zhao Yi's back, eyes filled with deep resentment. The shadow slowly faded, but before long, Zhao Yi unexpectedly returned to the carriage. His hand once again reached for the black suitcase, compelled by some unseen force. The eerie shadow reappeared with a delighted smile on its pale, cold face. It stood behind Zhao Yi, tilted its head, and exclaimed, "Yes, that's it. Open it." It stopped mid-sentence. Something wasn't going as expected. Zhao Yi's left hand gently stroked the suitcase, while his right suddenly pulled out a shiny scalpel. He smiled brightly and drove the blade into the suitcase. The knife pierced through as if into mud. Rotten blood oozed out from the opening. The suitcase thrashed violently. Zhao Yi gripped the scalpel tightly and began cutting along the small opening with precise, frenzied movements. Each slash landed in the exact same spot. For most players, this attack style would be ineffective against ghosts or monsters with high vitality. But Zhao Yi was different. His soul weapon carried a trace of chaos damage. He didn't know the exact value, but the splattering blood from each strike confirmed its effect. Since the ghost couldn't emerge voluntarily, Zhao Yi didn't hold back. After thousands of strikes, the system prompt finally echoed in his mind. Congratulations on killing the resentful ghost. Your soul weapon has been enhanced. You have received +4 power and additional chaos energy for your soul weapon. Is it finally dead? Rancid blood seeped from the suitcase. Zhao Yi's face and body were covered in thick stains. The chilling voice in his ear had vanished. The ghost nearby backed away cautiously, as if terrified of awakening Zhao Yi, who now stood silent. But it made a small sound by accident. Its body stiffened in panic. It held its breath, afraid to move. Zhao Yi, holding the bloodied scalpel, slowly turned around. A twisted smile stretched across his face, his red eyes glowing, like a ghost crawling out of hell. The black shadow floating in the air froze at the sight of his expression, then collapsed to the floor, scrambling backward in terror. "Why you? Stay away from me." It retreated frantically. Seeing Zhao Yi step closer and closer, its heart nearly leapt from its chest. Who the hell is this guy? Why is he so terrifying? Is he trying to kill me? Zhao Yi backed it into the corner of carriage number 6. The ghost's back pressed tightly against the wall, shaking in fear. As Zhao Yi got closer, he finally saw what it was, a little girl. She looked cute, but something about her was off. She curled up, crying, "I didn't mean to hurt you. I was forced to." Zhao Yi stepped forward, put away the scalpel, patted her head, and tried to comfort her. "Don't be afraid. I'm a good person." The little ghost looked up with tearful eyes, her pale, decaying face twisted with grievance. "Really, uncle?" A vein throbbed on Zhao Yi's forehead. He suddenly grabbed her by the neck. "Call me brother." Zhao Yi's face softened with affection. He released her and patted her head. "That's better. Now tell me, what happened to this train?" The little ghost bit her lip, her face turning even paler. I can't say. It's watching. If I talk, it'll know right away." Zhao Yi narrowed his eyes. "Who is it?" The little ghost trembled violently and shook her head. Page 38 of our textbook says we shouldn't share secrets. I'm a good child. I can't say bad things. Zhao Yi glanced at the graffitied textbook beside the suitcase, then stroked her head gently. I get it. If you don't want to tell me, I won't force you. He walked back to the suitcase, stored the textbooks in his inventory, packed the rest of the items into a torn school bag, and placed the scattered pens into the pencil case. Then he stood, handed the bag back to the little ghost, and smiled. Don't leave your things lying around. You'll cry if you lose them. The little ghost looked stunned. She held the old school bag in her arms, speechless, her head lowered, hair covering her face, lost in thought. Zhao Yi turned and headed for carriage number 5. The little ghost suddenly called out, "Thank you, brother." Zhao Yi turned and smiled. "You're welcome." The little ghost hesitated, then gritted her teeth and said, "Brother, go to car number 1. Zhao Yi paused, then waved without turning back. "I got it." As Zhao Yi left carriage number 6 and entered the black mist of carriage number 5, the little ghost turned her gaze to the black suitcase, hugged her old bag tightly, and shed tears of blood. Zhao Yi left carriage 6 and pulled out the little girl's textbook, flipping to page 38. Sure enough, there it was, Teacher's Theory. The page was filled with dense notes, written in 4 different pen colors. At a glance, it looked normal. But after a closer scan, Zhao Yi noticed the hidden message. Words circled in the same color-formed sentences. The control room has the latest morning news and maps. Diesel is needed to start a train. Don't go to the cab. It will always stare at you. In the 5th carriage were 2 players, the greasy, middle-aged man Wang Zhu and the pale, cold woman Lai Miao Miao. They were huddled near a pot of blue fire in the corner, surrounded by 3 ghosts. The group trembled as they tried to communicate. The sudden appearance of another person naturally drew attention. Both the players and the ghosts turned to stare at Zhao Yi, stunned. The 2 players were clearly excited. It seemed they were in trouble they couldn't handle, and Zhao Yi's arrival gave them hope. "Great, Zhao Yi, you're here. Come and save me," Wang Zhu called out, waving frantically, sweat pouring down his face. His hands trembled. Whether from fear or excitement, it was unclear. "Outsiders are prohibited from participating in the game," one of the ghosts said, "unless you're willing to wager your life." As soon as the ghosts finished speaking, the players' expressions changed. Lai Miao Miao frowned. "Zhao Yi, what are you hesitating for? We're all comrades in this together. Would you really be so selfish as to watch us die?" Wang Zhu quickly added, "The game's not difficult. With your ability, it should be easy." Zhao Yi glanced at Lai Miao Miao and raised an eyebrow. "The game, huh? Alright, what are we playing?" Wang Zhu sighed with relief. Lai Miao Miao, spoiled like some kind of princess, always spoke with a superior tone. Even when she could speak kindly, she preferred standing on a moral high ground. Wang Zhu had worried she would offend Zhao Yi and make him leave. Fortunately, the top-ranked rookie seemed to have a good temperament. While Wang Zhu was thinking, Zhao Yi stepped forward to join the game. The ghost explained the rules again. "This game is called Guess Guess. Within 10 minutes, you must figure out how we died. You may ask 3 questions total. We will not lie, but you cannot directly ask how we died. If you fail, we will take one of their arms, and you will die." As the ghost finished its chilling explanation, Zhao Yi gave the 2 players a cold look. Lai Miao Miao remained aloof, arms crossed, as if it was only natural for Zhao Yi to risk his life for her. Wang Zhu grinned awkwardly, trying to appear friendly. "The 2 of them already asked 2 questions, the ghost added. "Only 1 remains. Think carefully." The 3 evil ghosts smiled hungrily, their glowing green eyes roaming Zhao Yi's body. To them, he looked like a fresh piece of meat falling from the sky, too tempting to resist. Zhao Yi stroked his chin, deep in thought. "Alright, if I get 1 question," he said slowly, "then I'll ask, do you want freedom?" Everyone froze. What the hell kind of question was that? At a time like this, Lai Miao Miao couldn't hold back. Her eyes blazed with anger. "Unbelievable. You wasted the only question." She threw up her hands, her expression like she'd tasted something foul. "Wang Zhu, you useless pig, wasted 2 questions, and now you waste the last one. I really don't understand how you got to the top of the rankings. Men are just useless breeding tools. In a matriarchal world, you wouldn't even be worthy of cleaning our waste." Zhao Yi ignored her and looked seriously at the ghosts. "I asked a question. Do you yearn for freedom? Answer me." The ghosts fell silent. They had promised to answer honestly. The word freedom seemed like a distant memory, something precious and long lost. "Yes," one finally said. "We yearn for it desperately. But there's no hope anymore." One of the ghosts even sighed. But after a brief pause, its face turned cold again. "Alright, you've asked your questions. Now, guess how we died. If you guess right, you're safe. If not, you know the consequences." Wang Zhu's shiny bald head glistened with cold sweat. He kept swallowing nervously. Lai Miao Miao had turned pale. Forgetting her earlier arrogance, she trembled in the corner, trying to hide. Time was running out, and no one had an answer until Zhao Yi, who had quietly observed the ghost's features, finally spoke. He pointed to the fat ghost on the left, who had marks on his neck and shredded flesh hanging from his body. You were murdered, strangled to death by someone who wanted to eat your flesh. He turned to the hunchbacked, thin ghost in the middle. You died of asthma. There was no medicine, and you suffocated. Then he looked at the third ghost, twisted, hideous, and full of resentment. You committed suicide. The three ghosts stared at Zhao Yi before finally saying, "You completed the game. You are temporarily safe." Zhao Yi reached out to shake their hands, smiling into their cold eyes. "I'm just like you. I long for freedom, and I'm willing to give everything for it." The ghosts exchanged glances. A flicker of emotion passed between them. Wang Zhu and Lai Miao were still recovering, filled with the joy of survival. Wang Zhu, trying to play along, chimed in. "Yes, I like freedom too. We're the same, right? No need to fight." No one responded. Zhao Yi looked toward the road leading to the fourth carriage. Something had occurred to him. He turned to the ghosts, who were now seated, and asked, "What happened on this train?" Their expressions became unreadable. They said nothing. Zhao Yi had suspected this. He only wanted confirmation. After a pause, the ghost who had committed suicide finally spoke. "You won't find the answer here. You'll have to go outside to find it. But the outside world is dangerous. You'll need a ghost candle to survive." Zhao Yi thanked the three evil ghosts and walked toward car number 3, but a middle-aged man grabbed his arm. Hey, brother Zhao Yi, where are you going?" Zhao Yi answered seriously, "To find my freedom." Seeing Zhao Yi determined to leave, the middle-aged man quickly said, "I'll go with you." Although the three evil ghosts had promised temporary safety, Wang Zhu still believed that the safest option was to follow Zhao Yi. Even if he had to do something dangerous, as long as it wasn't too risky, it was worth it. But Lai Miao objected. "If you're all leaving, what about me?" A flicker of annoyance crossed Wang Zhu's eyes, but he didn't say anything at first. "You can come with us." Lai Miao looked at them and sneered. "Go seeking death with you. I just found a safe place for once. Do you think I'm stupid?" Wang Zhu couldn't hold back anymore and frowned. "Everyone's on a dungeon mission. Do you think you can benefit without doing anything?" Lai Miao retorted sharply. "Oh wow, the old veteran is worried now. I'm telling you, if you bring me in, you better bring me out too. And since Zhao Yi is so powerful, can't he just complete the mission himself? It's not like you're doing it for me. If the mission fails, we all die." Wang Zhu was usually tactful and cautious, but Lai Miao's attitude really pushed him to the edge. Still, since they were in the same situation, he didn't want to create more problems. "We're not obligated to protect you. If you want to follow us, fine. If not, stay here and wait for us to complete the mission. It's your choice." He left those words behind angrily and ran after Zhao Yi. Lai Miao's pretty face twisted with coldness and resentment. She glared at their backs, then reluctantly followed. She didn't want to, but she knew staying in the fifth car was more dangerous. The safety promised by the evil ghosts was temporary. There was no set time. Once those two men she looked down on were gone, she'd be left to face the danger alone. When they entered the fourth carriage, the scene was strange. Unlike the others, this carriage didn't seem to be undergoing any tests. The chandelier flickered dimly, and 6 evil ghosts huddled in a corner, trembling in fear. Sitting on a hard seat in front of them was a cute girl humming an unknown nursery rhyme. As they got closer, they saw it was Tian Tian, holding a worn-out little bear. When she saw Zhao Yi, Tian Tian jumped off her seat and ran into his arms. "Brother Zhao, Pu told me you'd come save us, and you really came." Zhao Yi stroked her hair and glanced at the evil ghosts. Their eyes were filled with fear as they looked at Tian Tian. It seemed she had scared them somehow. "Let me introduce you. These uncles were the passengers of this carriage. They were super enthusiastic earlier and wanted to play games with me. But they quit halfway through. So lame." She made a face at the trembling ghosts in the corner. One of the female ghosts was so frightened, she wet herself. The scene was intense, shockingly majestic. If Zhao Yi hadn't moved quickly with Tian Tian, they would have been sprayed. Lai Miao looked at the ghosts and remarked sarcastically, "What lucky trash. She meets weaklings, and I get monsters." She was bitter. Why did this soft-looking little girl encounter cowardly ghosts, while she got vicious ones? No one paid her any attention. It was like she didn't exist. Zhao Yi looked around and confirmed there was no exit from this carriage. A layer of fleshy film covered the door, indestructible by force. The mission clearly didn't want them taking shortcuts. In other words, the system rules were protecting them. The outside world was full of unimaginable danger. They had to get the ghost candle before thinking about leaving the train. They still had to go to car number 1. "All right, stop shaking. I'm taking Tian Tian to car number 1. You all do what you want." The 6 evil ghosts burst into grateful tears and kowtowed to Zhao Yi. Great man, thank you. They were clearly terrified of Tian Tian. Zhao Yi rubbed her head and led her toward car number 3. Wang Zhu followed cautiously, keeping his distance from the ghosts. They were still evil, after all. Wai Miao Miao, trailing behind, spit at the 6 ghosts. She looked smug, finally feeling like a perpetrator instead of a victim. But when one ghost looked up at her, its cold green eyes made her legs go weak. She shivered in fear and hurried to car number 3. On the way, she tripped in her high heels and fell face first, onto Wang Zhu's sweaty backside. The odd smell nearly made her vomit. She shoved him away and gagged, her face pale and green. Everyone stared at each other, confused. Wai Miao Miao looked terrible and glared at Wang Zhu with increasing disgust. The second and third carriages had been where Wen Long, Bai Shuiji, and Qin Ziyifang were. By the time Zhao Yi arrived, they had completed the ghost games in their cars. According to them, the games weren't hard and didn't pose deadly threats. They entered car number 1 together. There were no seats, just a blood-stained wooden table blocking the path to the cab. 6 bloody human heads sat on it, their scalps and skulls sliced open. In the center of each brain was a green-flamed candle. The attendant turned around. Her neck was broken, barely held by skin. She grinned. "Welcome, everyone, to the D19 train." Only then did Zhao Yi realize that this mission was finally starting to make sense. "Tell me, what game do you want to play?" The muscular young man, Wen Taki, seemed eager to prove himself. He spoke first and stepped forward. He looked at Zhao Yi provocatively, as if competing to prove who was more fit to survive in this cruel world. "There are no games in this carriage," the train attendant said, smiling what she believed to be a beautiful smile. "You were separated into 5 carriages earlier. When you finish the game, you'll uncover some hidden clues. With these clues, you'll be able to do more. There are 6 ghost candles here. Each one burns for an hour once removed from the ghost head. During that time, the holder won't be attacked by other ghosts on the train. The candle can also dispel the darkness outside the train to some extent, and make the aggressive ghosts see you as one of their own. But that doesn't mean they won't attack you. When all 6 ghost candles have burned out, the seal on the cab behind me will be opened." The attendant's lips curled into a strange smile. "Excuse me, what happens when the seal is opened?" Wen Long asked. The attendant shrugged. "Nothing serious, just the conductor and another unspeakable passenger will come out." For some reason, the players felt a chill. Even though they didn't know what the conductor and the unspeakable passenger were like, it was clear that their emergence would mean extreme danger. "Also, let me remind you, the door of carriage number 1 is the only one that can be opened on the G19 train. Once you open it, you can leave, but things outside can also come in." The attendant finished speaking and stood silently, smiling at everyone. Bai Shuiji looked at the 6 ghost candles on the table, suppressing the fear and nausea in his heart. "There are 7 of us and only 6 candles. How do we divide them?" The atmosphere suddenly became tense. 7 people, 6 candles. Only those with a ghost candle would be protected. The others wouldn't. In other words, one person had to be sacrificed. Many eyes turned toward Qin Ziyifang, the oldest among them. The kind-looking old woman seemed to know what they were thinking. She slowly pulled a small pistol from her clothes, stepped back a few steps, and kept her distance. "I want a ghost candle. If I don't get one, I'll kill everyone who does." She was blunt. Though her body wasn't as strong as the others, the power of her pistol made no one dare underestimate her. As the saying goes, within 7 steps, the gun is faster. At this range, no one was willing to risk their life. "What are you doing? Aren't we discussing this? You're still part of the team. We wouldn't abandon you, would we?" Wen Long saw the muzzle of her gun aimed at him and quickly tried to defuse the tension. He was confident in close combat, but the little black candle in her hand, and the pistol, made confrontation too risky. Still, no one wanted to give up their ghost candle. The group reached a stalemate. Everyone was guarded, filled with suspicion and malice. At that moment, Bai Shuiji nudged Zhao Yi. "Zhao Yi, any ideas?" Zhao Yi saw all eyes turn to him. He shrugged. "What are you looking at me for? Do you think I can just conjure up another ghost candle out of thin air? I meant, do you have a good way to divide them?" Zhao Yi clicked his tongue. "No matter how we divide them, someone ends up without a candle. But if we flip the logic, it's easier. Everyone who leaves the carriage to search for clues must have a candle. No exceptions." His suggestion immediately gained support from Wang Zhu. "I agree with Zhao Yi. Those who contribute to the team should get the candles first." Wai Miao Miao crossed her arms and sneered. "How do we know someone won't just run off with the candle and hide? Sounds like he's trying to secure one for himself and disguise it as fairness." Zhao Yi nodded. "True." Without warning, he pulled out a shotgun and fired 6 shots in front of everyone. He shattered Lai Miao Miao's legs on the spot. Everyone stared at her screaming on the ground, frozen in horror. Zhao Yi had a gun. A shotgun. Did he buy it in the Points Mall? That thing cost thousands of points. Oh, how careless, Zhao Yi said mockingly. My god, look at you, breaking your legs like that. He stepped forward. Under everyone's horrified gaze, he pulled out a scalpel. Lai Mao turned pale, shrieking and pointing at Zhao Yi. He wants to kill me. Stop him. But the others didn't move. Even if Zhao Yi killed her, they wouldn't stop him. One death meant one extra candle to share. Don't scream. I'm going to perform surgery, Zhao Yi said. I won't kill you, but if you struggle too much, I might slip and hit something vital. If you bleed to death, don't blame me. Lai Miao struggled harder, but her strength was no match for Zhao Yi. He forced her mouth open, knocked out her teeth, and cut out her tongue. Flawless, quick, as fluid as water. He was too skilled, as skilled as someone eating or drinking. It had a terrifying grace, like watching someone create art rather than mutilate a person. In the eyes of the others, Zhao Yi wasn't committing violence. He was completing a masterpiece. Without her tongue, Lai Miao couldn't speak. She wouldn't die. The shock from pain was eased by Zhao Yi's precise massage techniques. Though she was weak from blood loss, it wasn't enough to kill a healthy woman. Zhao Yi looked down at her tear-streaked face, then calmly put away his knife. When he turned, everyone's gaze had changed. They were afraid. What a pity, he said, smiling. A lovely young girl just now dropped her tongue, teeth, and legs. Let's not make such low-level mistakes again. Zhao Yi blinked. Everyone felt a chill run down their spine. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.